It's the final match day of pre-season, meaning that the Premier League is only 1 week away. Arsenal take on Athletic Club this afternoon, not Athletic Bilbao, as they, of course, look to take on one of their former favourites, Nico Williams, and a chance to see the likes of Victor Gyökeres maybe get his first goal. This is today's Arsenal Transfer Show. Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk, back again with you guys and girls for another episode of what is the Arsenal Transfer Show. Join you every single morning at 8 a.m. UK time. Thank you so much as always for joining us and making this a part of your morning routines. It is greatly appreciated. I hope you've had an absolutely fantastic week, and of course you are now looking forward to a really good weekend as well. Maybe you're off to the game today. I'm sadly not going to be there. I'm actually, for the first time in a long time, missing an Arsenal game, but it is the Mrs. 30th this weekend. It's tomorrow. Not today. So there may or may not be a show tomorrow morning. I'm not 100% sure right now if we are going to have a show tomorrow, but rest assured there will be one, of course, on Monday. But I would quite like to do one tomorrow because, the opportunity, of course, to be able to talk about today's game is there. But we are at a vineyard today as per her request. So it may be that we're a little bit sensitive in the morning and I'm not able to do that, but hopefully I am. Hopefully is the apt word, I think, of the day. Good morning to all of you joining us in the chat box. Thank you so much, as always, for doing so. It is greatly appreciated. I hope, as I say, you've had an absolutely brilliant week so far, and you're looking forward to the weekend. Good morning to joining us in the chat box: James, Arasilki, Glenn, Peter, Matt G, Carl, Claire, Evan. We've got Matt Robinson. We've got Ben, Paul, Pam, Olawale in the chat box. Rob, Wilson, Z, Knowledge, and Goodness76, Paul, Aiden, Barry. Good morning to Maximius and Marcus Sheps as well in the chat box too. Thank you to you all listening. Thank you for being here. Thank you for tuning in. And I'm looking forward, of course, to. I'm not used to wearing a hat. It's really bothering me. I stopped wearing hats for shows, but we've got a couple of friends around using the spare room, which the hairdryer is in, so I couldn't wash my hair this morning yet. So I've got to wait for them to get up before I can. So we're still dealing with bed hair. So hence the hat today. But good morning to you all, and and thank you for the kind messages. Really appreciate that. But let's, without further ado, jump into today's stories. So yes, the final test of the summer: Arsenal take on Athletic Club. I nearly slipped up there. Athletic Club, of course, who are the team that we're playing. Not Athletic Bilbao. I spent so long trying to correct that that I nearly messed it up myself. But yeah, of course, Nico Williams at the Emirates. A eventuality a lot of people maybe expected, but of a different kind. Perhaps with him wearing an Arsenal shirt, not wearing an Athletic Club shirt, but yeah, it's very much an exciting game, an interesting one. Plenty of interesting narratives, I guess, around this game, because we've got, of course, the opportunity to play some players that haven't played too much yet, like Noni Madueke, like Fabio Vieira, who's back. We'll talk about that in a little bit as well. But Gyökeres, of course, will be looking to get his first goal. But I think the main thing about this is the idea of playing our best team. For the first time this summer, this is the time where Mikel Arteta should be looking to play his best 11. It's going to be our last friendly before we go to Man United. We have to, in my view at least, we have to make sure that we are playing our best team. If we don't, then what's the point? We want to build those relationships. We don't want them going into that game against Manchester United without having at least played one game with our best team on the board. So it's a good test. Athletic Club are a good team, Europa League semi-finalists last season, of course, and an opportunity then for Arsenal to, I think, get people back on side. If it's not a positive result, even though it's pre-season, after 2 defeats back-to-back in pre-season, the mood will be low. So, that's something to think about, I think, in this context. But a really interesting story again yesterday dropping. Arsenal have done a lot of work commercially. Of course, Julius Slot leading that at Arsenal quite considerably. And Arsenal have done a lot of commercial deals at the club. And according to Lukasz Baszek, who is a really good insider regarding kind of commercial footballing news, reporting on X yesterday that Coca Cola is the latest globally recognized brand to join Arsenal's growing family of official partners. Coca Cola will become the Gunners' official soft drinks partner. The contract will run for 2 years with an optional 1-year extension, and an official announcement is expected soon, according to Lukasz. So, yeah, really a continuation of this big push commercially for Arsenal to get more deals. Of course, recently Arsenal announced their latest kind of alcoholic partnerships with Guinness and with Asahi as well. And Prime is now gone, and Coca-Cola is replacing Prime, it seems, as the next big kind of drinks company to join up. But there's been lots of other deals. Of course, Shoba Realty became the official sponsor of the training ground, and it changed from London Colney to the Shoba Realty Training Centre. So all of this, of course, you'd hope is with the hope of kind of building up further revenue. And you know what that means? Not being spent on transfers. But it's, of course, yet more commercial deals the club have successfully completed. Announcement yesterday, Ethan Nwaneri, his new deal was, of course, announced at the club, and the player committing his future to a 5-year contract. We've known about this for a long time. A long time. We've known about it for ages that this is going to happen. Actually, a lot of us were kind of asking the question of, well, this was agreed and signed before the pre-season tour started. So why has it taken so long for this to be announced? Maybe that they hadn't yet kind of finished filming and they wanted to do some stuff when they returned to London after the tour. And of course, the announcement video was very heavily North London orientated. So maybe that was the reason. But speaking, of course, upon signing the new deal, he said, "Signing this contract means everything to me. I see this as my first real season in men's senior football as part of the squad in the changing room. So I'm excited for what I can bring to the team. I want to help us win as much as possible and bring happiness and glory to the club. This is where I feel at home." Now, you remember one of those points being kind of in the dressing room, because he was only 17 for much of last season. He wasn't actually in the changing room with the senior squad when he was in the squad. He had to change separately from, of course, the senior side because he hadn't yet turned 18. So, yes, he's absolutely right. This is his first season, really, in the changing room with the senior squads. And, of course, as we've discussed before on the channel, this new contract for Ethan Nwaneri has been quite impactful for Arsenal's transfer plans. Because, as we know, Arsenal, as we've been discussing over the last couple of days, Arsenal's interest in Eberechi Eze was predominantly kind of sparked around the time that Ethan Nwaneri's negotiations around a potential contract were ongoing, and it wasn't yet at that point confirmed. So does this change anything? No, I don't think so. If Arsenal were to sign Eberechi Eze this summer, a lot of things need to happen before that happens. But Arsenal, of course, have prioritised keeping one of the best talents in the country at the club over signing a new player. And it's torn a lot of fans. I mean, I raised the question to a lot of people saying, would they rather have signed Nwaneri to a new deal, or would they have rather signed Eberechi Eze and saw Nwaneri go to a Chelsea or somebody else? And I am actually surprised how many people would, cash in on Nwaneri, to be honest, considering he is one of the best young, if not for his position and age, the best young kind of player in England right now, and of a kind of England youth international kind of setup as well at his age bracket. So, yeah, it's a tough one. And a lot of people kind of are torn on that debate. It is not a case, I don't think, of necessarily definitely one over the other. It's still possible that Eze could sign for Arsenal between now and the end of the window, but a lot of dominoes would need to fall now for that to take place. But we discussed that, of course, quite heavily yesterday. The last kind of bit of today's show is all around the images that were released across the Arsenal website and in training. Fabio Vieira, of course, is back and with the squad, as is Reiss Nelson, who is also pictured amongst the training images. This is Ethan Nwaneri, of course, in the picture, but Reiss Nelson was also pictured amongst those training. But Fabio Vieira, as you can see in the photo there, is back. And then there was no sign of Zinchenko, Trossard, or Max Dowman. Now, the Max Dowman absence, of course, could be explained. And I should, preface all of this in the sense of who is and who isn't spotted in the training pictures, from my perspective, is not always completely telling as to who and who isn't there. Sometimes the camera misses people, sometimes they purposely miss people, sometimes they accidentally include people, but it's not a tried and tested theory that is without its, issues. So it gives us hints who is in the photos, but it's not definitive. Max Dowman, of course, as Mikel Arteta explained, was to be given a break because he hadn't had a break all summer. So he may not be in the squad for the game this afternoon against Athletic Club. But hopefully this break at this point allows him to be back and in the squad for the game against Manchester United. So that's that aspect of training. Calafiori, good news, of course, was also involved and back with the group. Mikel Arteta said he did expect the likes of Calafiori, Gabriel, and Timber all to be ready for the start of the season. Timber and Gabriel have already returned. He did say and did kind of hint that Leo might have had a chance to be in the squad for the game today. However, so far, no sign of Leo we assume this kind of groin issue that he supposedly has had, that he suffered, of course, while he was playing against Spurs. But Calafiori has returned, which is obviously is a very, 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 very big boost. So fingers crossed that he is going to be back and stay back is the big thing. But the headline kind of inclusions and exclusions from the training images were the inclusion of Kai Havertz, who, of course, missed the game against Vieira in midweek. He is there, is present, has trained. But William Saliba was not pictured. Neither was Gabriel Martinelli, actually, either. Gabriel Martinelli, I thought there was a picture of Gabriel in the round of pictures. And maybe if you want to go onto the Arsenal website and you can give me your thoughts on this, I think it's photo 36. There is a person sitting behind Gabriel on the floor who could be Martinelli, but it's very kind of skewed and it's very difficult to see who it is. But that could potentially be him. It's kind of the side of his head looks a little bit like it could be Martinelli. But Saliba was not. And I went through the pictures about 10 times to triple, or whatever word it is, double check, whatever it is. And I couldn't see William Saliba in any of those images. So, again, it doesn't mean that he is injured. It doesn't mean there is a problem. He may have just been missed by all of the photos that were being taken, all of the pictures, and he may be fine. Of course, we'll find out more today. Today will give us the best insight as to where certain players are at. And of course, Arteta will, of course, give insight. Simon Collins usually does ask after the press conference around player welfare and injuries and where players are. So certainly it's a concern. It's worrying that Saliba wasn't spotted, but hopefully it's nothing and hopefully he's fine. But we will know more later on today. Right, let's go to part 2 now. Tackle some of your questions, some of your feelings and more right after this. Now, with it being Saturday, I was going to open up the floor to potential phone-ins today, this morning. If you are interested, give us a sign in the chat. If people aren't fussed about it, Saturday morning phone-in, then don't worry about it. But if you are interested in hopping on the show and giving us your thoughts or getting some things off your chest, then let us know in the chat box, and I'll drop a link in, and we can get some people on the phone in. If not, we'll just go and do the usual Q&A session. It is Saturday morning. I know people weren't expecting it. I've just kind of surprised that and thrown that on you. Yeah, I'll get a link in there ASAP if indeed people are up for it. But let's tackle some comments before I check back on who's interested. Sweaty Mello says, how much do you think we'll actually use Dowman over the season now? Still just the cups and occasional bench or bigger part of the squad? I think that he has shown in this pre-season that he has to be part of the team. And if it was my decision, he would be in the squad for the Man United game and on the bench and giving us an option. I think we will see it. He's not doing anything to suggest that we won't see it, if you know what I mean. He's done everything he possibly can to give himself an opportunity. So I sincerely hope that we do see him involved. I think he needs to be. I think the club need to show that pathway. They need to show the opportunities. They need to show that this is the right place where he can get game time. Harish says, I see the same frustrations we had last season manifesting this season, moving the ball in a U shape against the physical mid and low blocks, Saka double, triple teamed, and no threat of the left wing from the central spaces. And I empathise completely, Harish. That's what we've kind of been noticing and seeing, that these are the concerns that we've got. It's a bit same. There are some differences. There are obviously, there's more kind of direct action in how we play, and we haven't yet seen our best team. So there is some points you could argue that are somewhat still to be decided. But yeah, it's definitely a concern at this stage. Soup says, crazy reports from Spanish media claiming that Arsenal and Real Madrid had agreed a swap deal for Saliba and Rodrigo. No chance. Yeah, the Spanish media certainly is special when it comes to Real Madrid and Saliba. I was chatting to a colleague of mine who works in Spanish media, and it was after we beaten Real Madrid and you started seeing those links with Saliba and Zubimendi, in fact. And I asked him, I was like, is this typical? Like when Real Madrid get knocked out of a competition by a team, particularly in the Champions League, the media kind of go into overdrive and start linking the players of the team that beat them with them. And, obviously any players that maybe that team is linked with Real Madrid suddenly become interested in. And they were like, yeah, it's kind of a natural reaction. It's kind of a big kind of PR stunt in some ways to kind of lessen the blow of being knocked out, and also a pretty aggressive reaction as well. So I don't tend to buy too much into those into those kind of things, to be honest, to be fair. John says, don't do it. I'm in bed with bed hair. Well, get a hat. That's how it works, John. You just got to get a hat, mate. There. Right. It seems there's a few of you that are up for it. So let's, I will probably be off about 9, latest 9:30. So be prepared that if you're waiting around past 9:30, you're probably not going to get on. But I'll put it in the chat. You know the rules. 18 plus, as always. You need to have a webcam. And you need to, of course, why am I typing in capitals? That's not what I want to do. At least 18 years of age, and you need to be have a webcam. You need to have a quiet recording place, and anything else, keep it clean. That's it. Always. They're the rules. So is that it? I think that's it. Yeah. 18 plus, webcam required, quiet. I put quiet, but you know what I mean. Quiet recording place. That's it. I wish I could edit messages, but I can't. So you're gonna have to deal with it being quiet instead of quiet. So apologies for that. But there it is. I've pinned it into the chat, so it's at the top of the chat box right now. We'll get some people on. Let's go to D Train. Says, Tom, if Arsenal don't go for another signing, are you confident we can compete to win the league? I mean, I'm confident we'll compete. I'm just less confident about the opportunity to win it. Of course. Tyrell says, morning to you, mates. And Temi says, why can't we have a Rice, Zubimendi, pivot, and Odegaard roams free in order to end the lopsidedness of our gameplay as well? Well, I asked that question yesterday. I wrote a piece about it, in fact. We talked a lot about kind of the 4-2-3-1. I wrote an article about kind of how that works in a lot of detail, included some really interesting kind of data in that piece as well that I hadn't actually come across before. And I kind of looked into the touches of our left side compared to the right side. I can share those with you if I can just get out. There we go. So Martinelli averages 6.48 touches in the opponent's penalty area per 90 compared to 7.67 to Saka. Trossard is 5.54 touches. So both Martinelli and Trossard are less than Saka. In terms of progressive passes received per 90, Saka received 12.33 to Martinelli's 10.41 and 7.59 for Trossard. And just in terms of touches, Saka has, on average per game, 49.97 touches per 90 compared to Martinelli's 37.55 per 90 and Trossard's 45.2 per 90. So Saka is getting more touches per game, more touches per game in the penalty area, more passes being received per 90. it shows you the skew of that right-hand side, you know, and how much extra there is going on there. Right, let's get our callers in, shall we? We'll start with Anthony, of course. Always a keen one when it comes to phone-in shows. How you doing, man? You good? You well?
Yeah, good morning.
Nice shirt, man. Nice shirt.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, cheers. Likewise.
I watched
I'm good.
I listened to you on Harry's show yesterday. I had it on in the background when I was working.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's the moods dropped quite considerably at the moment, I would say.
Well, of course, because you know, when we got Spaces on X, it's the pattern of play, you know, to try something different, which we haven't seen. It's the same old from last season, which fans are really frustrated about. You know, you've bought one of the most sought out strikers in the world, and you know, Mars is clearly not passing the ball to me because I was actually there at the game, and
Yeah.
you know, he made some good runs off the left. Martinelli blocked one of his shots. Ethan took the ball off him, and it's like, I was furious that Odegaard didn't start that game because we haven't seen that chemistry between Gyökeres and Odegaard, which, if you guys remember the video when he was reading the letter and Odegaard asked him, is there anything you need? Give me a shout. He said, yeah, more assists, please. So I'm hoping today that we field our strongest team, because if not, you know, questions going into that Man United game, because everyone's like panicking to say, look, if you look at Man United, who they've got Cunha, they've got Mbeumo, now they've got Sesko. They could go for Baleba as well, if the reports are led to be true. And if we are seeing the same patterns of play that we are from last summer, we're going to have issues. We really are going to have issues going forward, you know, predominantly on, you know, being right side bias, no one getting a service on the left hand side, and it's going to be the same old. So I'm hoping that the manager does do what he needs to do going forward with that. And, you know, if Gyökeres can get 1 or 2 goals today, which I hope he does, that would give him a real confidence boost going into the Man United game. I just hope we do what we need to do going forward. And, you know, it's interesting regarding this whole Eze Rodrigo. You know, I was listening to a guy named G Talks Arsenal on X, and what he was saying is that Eze could be done later on come August. If people do leave, like, there is a possibility that even though Trossard wants to stay, he may end up leaving, and he could go to Brentford, you know, like he was at Brighton. A big fish in a small pond at Brighton going forward, because obviously Wiesa looks like he's going to be going. So, you know, we'll just have to wait and see. But, you know, if Martinelli's not there, that would give Madueke, you know, an opportunity to start to see what he can do, because, again, a load of people are still fuming that we forked out 52 million on him, and we could have got a specialist left winger in Rodrigo or, you know, or Leao. I think that's the overarching issue that majority of the fan base is like, they're fuming with, some of the fan base are fuming with that signing. You know, loads are happy with the signing. I'm not gonna comment on what I think going for, because, you know,
you want to see what they can do first.
I've seen a sample size in Chelsea in terms of what he's done on the left, and I'm not impressed. I'll be brutally honest. I'm not impressed going forward.
That's fair enough. That's fair enough. I wouldn't say I'm impressed. That's fair enough.
If we bought him, if we got the specialist left winger in now, and then we got AK, like, I don't know, say like what, a couple of weeks after like the Man United game or so. I think that would have bowed down with the Arsenal fans, but because they've seen like the links of Leao, like AC Milan, they need to sell. You know, obviously Rodrigo going for it, etc., etc. You know, it raises the question, you know, who was the priority going forward? Was it a left winger, which we were led to believe that it's a left winger and a striker that is a 2, you know, priority positions?
The whole, you know, the led to believe thing, like, Like, it was kind of like, I think that was more fan driven, personally. Like, and like an opinion based article writing around that.
I
Like, we
think
could all
Ornstein
see.
said it. Yeah,
We
I think
what
Ornstein
I'm
said it
going to
as
say,
well.
what I'm going to say is that
Yeah,
the talk was about signing 3 attacking players, right? It was 3 attacking players, and within those 3 was a centre forward, a Saka cover, and the left side. But the left side always had the caveat attached to it, which was we have to move one of the 2 on first. That was always what the caveat was attached to it, which we've not been able to do so far. So I absolutely agree that in a perfect world, I would have loved to have seen Arsenal sign a left winger by now, like 100%. But until we move one of those 2 on, they recognised, as I pointed out, that we had one option naturally, in terms of their most natural role in Saka on the right. They had one centre forward fit option in Kai Havertz, and they had 2 players on the left. So they've signed the centre forward to give us 2 options there. They've signed Madueke to give us 2 options there, with, of course, the extra kind of addition of a question mark around whether he can play on the left as well. And then it was a case of, if one of those 2 left, then they'd go for the left-sided player.
Yeah, I know. And again, spending 52 million.
Yeah.
To be back, Saka's back up. Yeah, Man City can do it. They can waste money, But with us now, it's he's gonna be our left winger. That's that's what everyone's saying. Even I'm seeing it as well. Like, we don't spend 52 million on a backup winger for Saka. We haven't done it before. He's going to be our left wing going forward. And then if that is the case, Trossard or Martinelli will have to leave. They're not going to be, I think, more so Trossard than Martinelli. From what Sammy Mockbill said, is that, this could be Martinelli's last season. So he has to perform.
Yeah.
It could be his last season.
Yeah.
But in relation to Trossard, I don't see Trossard in an ideal world staying at this football club, knowing that you've brought in a player for 52 million who can potentially take your position if he does what he's supposed to do going forward. I don't see it personally. If he stays, he's one of our best finishers. Last season, he dropped off because Martinelli, unfortunately, he's been declining from since Granit Xhaka was there, like the second half of the season. He's been declining, and he's been on that decline. Playing Trossard now, personally, Trossard for me is a impact sub. You saw the 22-23 season, those crucial goals that he got against Bayern Munich when he came off the bench in the Champions League, and so on and so forth. That's how I view Trossard as that impactful sub going forward. So again, we'll just have to wait and see. There's plenty of Premier League clubs. Trossard, it'll be a shame for him to go if he does, because after the whole Mudryk debacle going forward with Chelsea, he came in. I was happy with that signing. After what I saw him showcase at Brentford, destroying Liverpool, going up to Man City, doing what he did, him as a player, I was happy with that signing. It was, obviously I wanted Mudryk, but I was happy that we got Trossard. But I think now, and we've, me and you have talked about this time and time again, that we need to reinvent that left-hand side. If we need to push forward to win one of the major trophies this season, we need to reinvent that left-hand side. So
yeah, I agree.
We just have to wait and see. If Eze does get done, that'll be a big plus for us. That's, if it gets done, hopefully, we hear some breakthrough next season in regards to Vieira. But I think what's happening this week, because of the Crystal Palace, the appeal, they're supposed to get some answers come Monday. So something could pick up next week going forward in regards to that, in regards to, the situation with Eze to Arsenal. If that does pick up going forward, who knows? But I know the dominoes have to, fall into place, but Arsenal fans are just losing their minds. Arsenal fans are just losing their minds right now. And I completely... No, I'm being serious. I completely agree with them.
Oh, I know you are. That's why I chuckled. Yeah.
I was at the game and I was not impressed. Also, we're still doing the same thing. Martinelli looks like a lost puppy out there. And it's a shame because when he came in, he was fantastic. But when people say it's the system, it's like, but when Saka didn't have Odegaard lost for the 2 months he was out, Saka was still performing. Martinelli has not stepped up his game going forward, and that's not a system issue. That's his own issue, something he needs to dig deep and say, look, if I still want to be here, I need to step up my game. People are throwing out these notions, play Odegaard on the left, Saka on the right. Would that work? Possibly. That could potentially happen, but will the manager do it? Yeah, I'm not too sure.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. There's obviously an issue on the left, and that needs to get sorted. And obviously today, we haven't obviously all pre-season seen our best team yet, I don't think. And we've still got the opportunity to do that today. So hopefully if we do start with Gyökeres, Saka, maybe Madueke off the left, Odegaard, Rice, Zubimendi, and obviously the usual kind of back four, and we play well and dominate and create high-quality chances and score goals, that will settle some of the kind of nerves. But if we don't and have another kind of somber performance, people are going to be worried, going into the season.
I think what I heard is that Havertz and Gyökeres, I think one's going to play the first half, and I think it will be Havertz who will play the second half. Don't quote me on that, but that was something that I saw on X the other day, that they could do that. Gyökeres won't get the full 90 minutes. Because again, he's literally just come and you don't want to.
I think it'll be 60.
Burn him out. Like you don't want to burn him out. When we go up against Man United, even though I think that, in my opinion, he should be starting over Havertz, but that's another conversation for another day going forward. So I'm hoping this evening that you do get a lineup. I hope there's nothing significant with Saliba, because I know we got cover and Mascara. He looks like he's been playing for Arsenal, for years. When I saw him come on as like quality player in terms of defender. So I hope there's nothing too serious with Saliba as well going forward. That obviously he wasn't in the training pictures going forward. So we just have to wait and see what happens this evening going forward. But it is what it is, at this stage. But let's get our best 11. Let's see what we can do on the pitch going forward, and let's give us the confidence for the Arsenal fan base to say, okay, hopefully we try something different. Hopefully he changes the formation. That's key for this manager going forward, is to change that formation, because this formation that we're playing now, and I keep saying this, it's not going to suit a striker like Gyökeres. We don't have the personnel like Man City going forward. Unfortunately, we don't. So let's just wait and see what happens going forward.
For sure. Anthony, what a pleasure. Always nice to speak to you. And are you going to the game today?
Yeah.
You are. Thanks, enjoy it. I hope that we get all that we wish for. Fingers crossed. Cheers, man. Speak to you soon. Catch up.
Thanks.
Lovely stuff. Always a pleasure to chat to Anthony. Steve says it's pronounced. I get this a lot in the chat box. The comment says it's pronounced Sin, not Sin. I'm from the southeast, mate. We say Sin. It's just how I say it. Like people say Bath, not Bath. It's just you're not going to correct them. So it's just you're going to have to get used to that. I'm afraid, mate. I'm sorry. Let's see if we can get Benny on. Benny's up next. How you doing, man? You good? You well?
Hello. How are you?
It's nice to see you in your amazing flat. I actually had another caller who strangely had the exactly same layout as you. It was unbelievable. I couldn't believe it.
Don't worry. Next call, I will change it. It will be in a tent.
In a tent somewhere. Okay. Well, I'll hold you to that. We'll hold you to it. Tell me what you're feeling, man.
So I have some different views in terms of obviously excited. I'm always excited when we play, but obviously the preseason less so. I'm here to kind of push back on some that I don't think Nwaneri is there yet. Like he had an amazing game last in terms of going forward. He had an amazing game
in Asia
last game. Last game. But in terms of, and I would invite others to go and look at some of the clips online where off the ball work he was still found lacking, where he couldn't cover his man and allow them to run through on some of the goals. So my thought is during against Man U, I think I still expect Odegaard to start. I think Nwaneri has improved a lot, but in terms of off the ball stuff, I don't think he's there yet. I'm really looking forward to the game in terms of how Arteta looks for solution in terms of the low block, because what I have seen in this, what I have observed in these friendly matches that we played, is that teams have tended to pack the midfield.
Yeah.
Like Tottenham packed the midfield. Villarreal, they had like in the middle of the park, they had so many players in the middle of the park. And I think these are some of the solutions. Mikel is trying to look for solutions against this type of formation. And I welcome trying to see, even though we get beat, I'm welcoming seeing this kind of test where I think they are trying to do it a lot, where they're trying to play around the wings with sometimes Martinelli, sometimes Saka. Obviously not work because we haven't won, but I'm trying to kind of see these kind of patterns which we are trying to kind of get over those low blocks, because we know against different teams that attack us, we play very well. We know that teams that don't pack the midfield, we always dominate. So it's now trying to kind of to fix this particular issue where teams pack the center of the park and tell us, okay, pass through us. So we either need to find a way to create some, a player needs to dribble through the center, or we need to pass around. And that's what we are trying to do. Yeah. It's not working as well, but I'm sure we will find a way. Now, anybody that is really, really pressed.
Are you laughing at people asking you to give you a tune on the piano? Is that why you were smiling?
Yeah.
Always. Every time. Every time.
For the people that are really, really pressed, in terms of like where we are not winning our friendly matches. For me, I don't care as long as we try and play well in patches. I would direct them to go and listen to the Arsenal Vision podcast, where you have the very soothing voice of Clive Palmer.
Who?
I'm sure you're aware of him.
He's probably watching.
And yeah, we literally it's preseason. Nobody's aware of how much these players are training in the off season. We've been this I did not know, but apparently we had a training session after Villarreal match. So the guys were in and they were training on the pitch. So they probably even trained before the Villarreal match. So some of these players are probably, you can see Declan. Declan was not usual Declan against Villarreal. Saka was not usual. They've been training heavily and they will still be training. And then during this week where everything is going to be behind closed doors, and there will be no matches where we will see, they will still be training to try and kind of get their sessions right so that they are a peak performance for Man United. So I don't think, I know there is cause for concern because of the patterns we're doing, but none of us are privy to what training schedules our players are on. And I literally saw in the match where we were, I think 2-1 down, and then normally we are hurrying and trying to get the next goal, but the players were quite chilled. They were like, we're not going to force this issue. And I was like, okay, yeah, fair enough, because it's a match that doesn't count. They probably are under instructions to just kind of see patterns. They're not like pressing absolutely hell and leather, because remember, we don't want any major injuries. We already had them with other teams where you've had Newcastle's had one, Tottenham's had one, and we're just lucky that we haven't had that kind of injury. So I employ people that are really, really pressed to just be understanding and give Arteta at least to Man United before they cut Arteta out.
that is the most Arsenal fan base thing ever, that we've got to take people back off the ledge during pre-season. That is the most Arsenal thing ever. Benny, always well summed up. Always.
I got two more things.
Go quickly. Go on.
Very quickly. Yes, the new shining object is really, really nice.
Yeah.
But signings still need to gel with your current squad. It happened to Mbappe. Half of half of last season.
Yeah.
People were crying that Mbappe isn't like scoring, and then he takes off afterwards. But people
became Europe's top goal scorer. Yeah.
Yeah, signings need to gel. Signings need to gel. So whether you have 6, whether you have 8, whether you have like 10, they still need to gel with your current squad. So it's going to take time. So I'm not expecting Cunha, Mbeumo, Saliba. I don't think they'll get Saliba anyway because it's going to be too expensive.
I really
Saliba, Sesko. I don't expect them to be scoring like 5 goals each against us because they still need to gel. Man U will have their problems. And then the last thing is MLS. This season is going to probably be a very pivotal season for him. He's playing at left back. People have probably studied him, and they are going to be pulling him wide, pulling him all over the place. He will need to step up because I was a bit wary, and it was confirmed when Pepe pulled him out of position where he's like Pepe stays very, very wide. MLS doesn't know whether to go with him or whether to stay back. So MLS will need the whole knowledge of Gabriel Heinze to get through this season because it's going to be a real examination for him. That's where people will think we are weakest and they will try and exploit it as much as possible. So I hope MLS is ready for this season. Okay, that's all. Thank you very much for this. And Tom,
you're very welcome.
Obviously, thank you always for
thanks, man.
This. Yeah.
This is why I let you on because you just give me compliments. So, but thanks, man. Always appreciate it. Always good to hear from you. Lovely stuff. Always a pleasure to speak to Benny. Wilson's up next. Energetic Wilson. How you doing, mate? You good? You well?
Good morning, Tom. I'm doing good. How you doing?
Yeah, good, mate. I know, obviously, when I rip the audio from these shows and I put it into Audacity, you get kind of like the sound waves that come up and it shows me the sound waves. I know which section is the Wilson section before I even click play because it's the section that's like filling the bar out. Like, I've noticed this every time. How are you doing, mate? You good?
Yeah, I'm doing well. I think, I believe Arsenal's pre-season, well, let me start on the transfer window. I feel like I believe that we're having a very good transfer window. I believe we've addressed like the midfield positions, we've addressed the defensive positions, the goalkeeper positions. The one that really strikes for me was the striker position. Because for the last 3 years, we've not had a proper striker, like a top-class striker, to put the ball in the back of the net. That's what we've been lacking. I believe we picked the right one, such as Gyökeres. I know Gyökeres has not had many minutes so far, apparently. I know he's just came in. So I think he needs some time to gel, probably. And I would say, I believe Gyökeres will get better. He will get up to speed, and I just cannot understand why some pundits, like Troy Deeney and all of them clowns, judging on Gyökeres already before he's even kicked the ball. Give the guy a chance, man.
You see what I mean? Yeah.
Yo, it's just like the guy has done it in the Champions League. The guy has done it for the last, 2 or 3 seasons in his Portuguese league, and they're judging on him. Oh, hang on a minute. He's done it, I think, 1 or 2 seasons with Coventry or something like that.
Yeah.
And he's a crap player. Behave yourself, man. Do me a favor. I mean, I'm going to put Gyökeres to the side right now. The only 2 positions I do feel we need is a number 10 to provide cover and competition for Odegaard. I know when there is a new contract, I know that. But we do need a left-sided winger. Jesus Christ. I mean, Martinelli and Chelsea have not really hit the particular heights. And I think this is where it comes down to, Tom, in my opinion, because the only way I see of us getting a left-sided winger is if Martinelli or Trossard goes. That's my logic right there. And the only way that we'll get Eze is if we sell Vieira and other players. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
If we can get like an Eze, maybe a Rodrigo on loan, that would address the creativity because we are still lacking that creativity for me. And it has to be addressed. And probably it was highlighted in our pre-season because we are clearly are lacking that. In terms of our title aspirations are concerned, I believe that we will be Liverpool's closest challengers. I really do. And I think what Arteta needs to do is one, he needs to rotate his squad now because it's getting bigger. Number two, he needs to adapt some of his tactics to get the best out of our players, including Gyökeres as well. And I think those are the two main things. And the third thing is that the players need to perform. We've been second for 3 seasons now. We need, I mean, there will come a time, Tom, and you know as much as I do, we need to get it over the line. It's as simple as that, really.
Yeah.
You cannot argue with it, Tom. And you know this, because I want to win. I know you want to win.
You do.
I know that every single Arsenal fan wants Arsenal to win. And I don't want my friends or anybody laughing at me again.
I think this is a really interesting point about the whole laughing thing because I think the last 10 years, just taking kind of the football thing aside and going kind of in a football society issue, the last 10 years, I've never seen kind of rival baiting of one another as greatly as I've seen it in the last like 2 to 3 years in particular. It's probably a social media thing, but it's almost like the anger about an individual's own club, beyond just Arsenal, is heightened because of how fans of rival clubs interact with each other these days. It's emphasized and elevated to a level that I have never seen. And I think that in kind of a positive feedback loop, if you like, kind of builds up more frustration in your own fan base because you're so on edge and worried about not performing, not doing well. And you're so worried about being laughed at by your mates or by people online you've had debates with on social media who you're never going to meet. Like, it's a really strange dynamic, I find. But Wilson, it's an absolute pleasure always to talk with you. I appreciate your energy, I appreciate your thoughts, and I appreciate your patience as well. Thank you, man.
Anytime, Tom. Anytime.
Of course, mate. Speak to you soon. See you later.
See you around.
Lovely stuff. Jabu's up next. Takes himself off mute, and he's celebrating already. No worries, man. Take yourself off mute, and we'll be able to hear what you're saying. How you doing, man? You good, Joel? Oh, I can't hear you. Why can't I hear you? Hold on. Check your microphone. Go into the little settings. There's a settings settings wheel at the bottom, and then just check your microphones enabled. Unless it's me, but I think it is you. So if not, click a different microphone, and maybe it'll come up. Jabu, what I'll do is I'll get you on the call after this one. Just go and check. What you can do to check if the microphone's working, there's like 5 little dots. And if they light up green while you're talking, it means it's detecting sound. So that'll tell you. Right, Afam is next on my list, and then it's Tom after that once we've got Jabu back. Afam, how you doing, man? You good, Joel?
I'm well, Tom. How are you doing?
Can you do me a quick favour? Have you pulled over?
Yes.
Okay, that's fine. As long as you've pulled over, you're fine. You can't be driving while
I'm
you're
not moving. I just
okay, cool. You're fine. Good stuff.
Yes.
I can hear myself, though. There's a bit of an echo. Have you got headphones or anything?
Sorry?
Have you got headphones?
No, I don't. No, I don't have headphones.
I've got echo, so I can hear myself.
Oh, shit. So what should I do?
Okay. If there's any way of turning the volume down or something to help, but I can't have it on with the echo. I think he is driving because I can hear indicator in the background. But yeah, there's loads of echo FM going on, so I can't have it with the echo going in the background. So if you can sort that out or get headphones, then maybe we'll be able to sort it. Let's see it. Jabu, give me a thumbs up if you think you fixed it. If not, I'll go to Tom. Don't think he's fixed it yet. So let's go to Tom then first. How you doing, Tom? You good, Joel?
I'm great. Do you hear me?
I can't hear you, man. You're fine. I can't hear myself this time, so that's positive.
That's great.
No worries, man.
Well, I've listened to the people before me, so I'll get to my point that I've been thinking about, especially since yesterday's session, which was kind of a down show, with the whole Eze, Nwaneri,
Yeah, sorry about that. It's just the reality.
no, it's
yeah.
First of all, I have to say one thing, but I think people are over concluding things that other people say without even listening to what they're actually saying. Yeah. I think this is the first mistake that we fans are doing. Like, for example, the two quotes that Sami Mokbel said yesterday regarding Eze, where he said that at this moment, if Eze is going to come, he said at this moment, no. But, I mean, people forget that since Gyökeres, even before Gyökeres signed for us, everybody knew that the only way we're going to get Eze and obviously Rodrigo, even if this fantasy of Rodrigo, is only if we move on our players. Because, I mean, people say that, yeah, we have a lot of attacking midfield like Dauman and Nwaneri, but people forget that we have another attacking midfield, which is Vieira. I mean, we are so stuck there, and obviously you have to move Vieira, who's an attacking midfield, and Nelson, who's a who's a left winger. So we already got those positions, but we have to move on first in order to bring someone. So yeah, I think people, and they take you as well when you say that the chances. I mean, nothing really changed. I mean, we always knew. The only thing that changed. Yeah. I mean, we always knew that this is what's supposed to happen. The only thing that changed is that the chances got lowered because, let's face it, we're not in mid-July anymore.
This is the thing, Todd. Like, that's what frustrated me so much is that, like, the whole Eze thing, right? All that happened is that we became privy to some more information around the scenario. The scenario itself didn't, in the reality of what is going on, hadn't changed. He was always a player that Arsenal were interested in. He was always a player that Arsenal could sign, but it was always going to be reliant on players that left. And also, which, to be fair, what did change for me is the info around kind of Nwaneri's contract did, in fact, have kind of a larger impact on it than previously we had believed to be the case. But it's still the scenario where they're interested, and if they move enough players on, they could still go for him. But there's a lot that needs to happen.
And by the way, the fact that the Nwaneri affects the Eze, I mean, it's something that I think people should look at it and say it's quite obvious, because obviously if we had to sell Nwaneri as well, then obviously we had more urgency to bringing Eze. Other than now, the fact that he's staying means that our agency might move to the left winger because we have another attacking midfielder who's obviously staying. So so it's people have to they have to, before they go and shout their let's sack Arteta and Berta and everyone before not. I mean, people have to kind of get the facts and kind of chill down and look at the situation as it is. It's all factual. I mean, nothing changed. The whole thing. The only reason So yeah, I think people have to calm down. We knew what's going to need to happen in order for things to happen, and we'll have to just wait and see, and obviously hope that our Beta does deliver. The second point I have is regarding the whole Eze and Nwaneri situation. This whole conundrum, you could say, or kind of philosophical question is: what will you prefer? You prefer the coming up youngster, or the already prepared to get yours? Because as a fan, we always have this situation that we'd say we don't sell well. Look at Liverpool; they sell Kwanzaa, they sell, and the situation is that we always, and then when Arteta doesn't play Nwaneri and he looks amazing, people go and say, "Oh, he doesn't play kids. He does," but you cannot do both. I mean, you see that Liverpool and especially Chelsea, both of those teams actually decided that they're sacrificing Kwanzaa, Harvey Elliott, in order to bring a more ready player or players they believe. And their fans not going, look, I mean, Kwanzaa, I remember they were talking about him a year ago about being the next Van Dijk, and now they're saying, no. I mean, we want to have both worlds all the time. We want to have both worlds, and we have to understand that at some point we have to decide. And I think, by the way, the best example I think this season is as well Chelsea's situation with George, as also known as Evil Saka. Which last season, my friend who was a Chelsea fan was raving on him and telling him basically they have the next Saka and he's going to be the left winger for the next 10 years. And during this summer, they already signed Jamie Gitton, and they're talking about signing Xavi Simons and Garnacho. And now...
And they've got Estevao as well.
No, yeah, but Estevao was on the right. But they're sending...
But still, he's another attacking player, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm talking about the left because now they're signing 3 players on the left. And now the news came out that George actually thinking about leaving. So you have to ask yourself...
And that comes after they got a £27 million fine this summer for breaking...
Yeah, but listen, this coming and going, I always say, Chelsea just basically in love with the fact that they're bringing new toys. It's a bit of a fan thing. But what I'm trying to say is that we are fan have to... each fan has to make a choose. Do you want
got the little one in the background?
Yeah, she's coming. Each one has to make a choice. Either you want to have your ready-made player now, and then you have to make a sacrifice on your youngster, or we want to do it. We want to bring the youngster in, embed them, hoping that we won't end up like with a Jack Wilshere, and they manage to do thrive and be like the next Saka.
Yeah.
So we have to be in one of those, but we cannot always have both. We cannot always cry when we're not playing the youngster and then cry when we're not selling them.
Yeah.
Or we're not selling at all. So because you have to choose. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think you raised some really valid points. The Chelsea one's a really interesting one because the stockpiling of players there, like people are so kind of like looking at Chelsea at the time. Look at the business they do. They sign players even though they've already got players in those positions. So I'm like, yeah, well, that's all well and good, but Arsenal have been far more competitive than they have over the last however many years. And if you're betting on a team over the last however many years to win one of the big major trophies, then it's easily Arsenal over the two. So I'm more confident in Arsenal right now than I am the others. But Tom, I'm going to shoot off because I'm just thinking of time as well. But thank you so much for your call, man. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thanks, man. Lovely stuff. Let's see if Jabu's sorted out his microphone. How you doing, man? You good?
I don't even know. Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you, man. You're good now. Yes. If in doubt, shut the iPhone on. It's it works that way.
That's what I did. That's what I did.
Tell me what it is you want to talk about, man.
Yeah, Tom. So 3 things for me. I think we should just forget about every other team. Just focus on ourselves. We know what our weaknesses are. We know what our strengths are. Defense, definitely a strength. Yeah. Midfield, definitely a strength. Maybe we need reworkings in terms of the internal solutions that we have, but definitely a strength. Attack, right side, a strength. Now that we have a striker that's a strength, but our left-hand side is a weakness, right? So we just need to come up with solutions as to how we sort out that side. I don't care what Liverpool is doing. They are good anyway. They're going to get better. I do not care what Chelsea's doing. They have 100 players and they're very good, to be fair, So my thing is, let's focus on ourselves. Let's fix our problems. Problem number 1, we really do need to find a solution for that left-hand side. And I know we had this discussion before in the chat. For me, it is both a personnel and a coaching problem. Personnel, yes. Because Martinelli still gets chances. We can't say it's a coaching thing as if he doesn't get the chances. He still gets the chances, maybe a few, but he still gets the chances, but takes bad decisions sometimes. And I'm a Martinelli stan. I was one of those in the early days when Martinelli and Saka were coming up that thought they were on the same trajectory. Yeah, so I still believe in the guy. I just don't think he should be the main guy. And sometimes players develop differently. Sometimes you have a player that you up against, and because you have that player of a certain standard, you also raise your game. That's some of the issues that we have. Certain positions, because there's no player that's fighting you for a position, then you play at a subpar level. We all do it. If you go to a game and the guy is not there, you're playing at 90% when you could be playing at 100. It happens sometimes, So I really do think we need to find a solution for the left-hand side. I love Eze. He's one of my favorite players. I don't know if Eze solves the left-hand side, but I want Eze in my team. He's just one of those players that I want them in my team, regardless of whatever, where we fit him in. But I do think we should potentially think in the situation we are in, provided that we're not buying anyone. I do think we need to think about keeping Nelson as well. Not necessarily because he's the best player, but possibly because he provides us a third solution, which is something that we don't have now. Because right now, if Martinelli doesn't bang, if Trossard doesn't bang, we're in trouble. So I do think we should think about that. But obviously, I would like a buy, and my preference would be a player that is very good 1v1 that can take away opponents. And for me, that's the likes of a Leao type player. I'm not talking about the player. Let me talk profile. A Leao type player, more than a Rodrigo, actually, in my opinion. You know, even the guy at Brighton, right? A Mitoma type player, like someone that, you know, even though they're secluded on their own, they can create something, because it does seem like our manager is not concerned about that side. You know, the option to switch Odegaard and Rice over, I think it's a very good option. I think Saka doesn't need a lot of facilitation. I think with Saka, you just need to, you know, be there when he passes you the ball so that you can return it back to him and he can do his thing. I don't think Martinelli is the same. I think Martinelli needs that type of player that can hold the ball, create space, create that opening to run in behind so that you can play the pass. And I think Odegaard is the perfect player to do that. And what's a frustration, Tom, is it's not so much about Arteta, the coach, the man. He's brilliant. He's taking us this far. It's more the fact that he's so rigid. He's not flexible. And you're like, dude, you're so intelligent. Why don't you want to try this option? You know, it's not like, sometimes when you raise opinions, even in the chat, it almost seems like you're coming from a troll perspective, or you just like, you know, negative. It's not that. It's more like, we know how good this guy is. We just know there's a level above that he's just, it feels like he's refusing to get to because he wants to stick to this one way of doing things. That's my chat. If I were to rate my squad right now, I don't like ratings, but if I were to rate it, I'd say defense is a 10 out of 10. I'd say midfield is an 8 out of 10. And I would probably say our attack is a 6 out of 10, Tom. And I'm saying that if I were to say there's 3 positions in attack and each position I rate out of 3, and if I'm rating out of 9, I'd say left-hand side definitely 3. I'd say attack right now with the inclusion of Gyökeres, a 3 out of 3. And then I'd say left-hand side is a 0 out of 3, unfortunately. So that's where the weakness is for me.
It's interesting that kind of rating the different parts, like if I was saying rating kind of out of 10, like the defence, you know, we have such depth and options in the back line. The midfield, the midfield for me, you've got Zubimendi and Rice and Odegaard as like a starting 3 on paper looks excellent. Like it's just the balance and the structure of it. Again, it's not necessarily the personnel. I think it's a systems situation. I've talked at length about the 4-2-3-1 idea, and I think that is something that I think would really benefit us and give Odegaard a lot more freedom to do his work, and actually think gives Zubimendi and Rice a lot better a platform as well. Maybe we'll see that. I don't know. We're hoping we see. Hoping that we see both of them in today's game. But it's curious. The forward line, like Saka and Madueke as 2 options on the right, I think are 2 great options on the right. Gyökeres and Havertz, I think, are 2 great options in the middle. But the left, obviously, is where we kind of fall down somewhat. And with Martinelli and Trossard, we don't know if they're going to be at the requisite level to give us what we need for a title challenge. But the idea of rating kind of across the 3 is an interesting one. But Jabu, what a pleasure to speak with you, man. I really appreciate it.
Cheers, man. It's my first time here. Enjoy the show. I get frustrated sometimes in the chat. I'm like, guys, I'm not a troll. I'm chilling. I like it.
Mate, if you're a troll, you wouldn't be here. It's as simple as that. That's why you're still here. Thanks, man.
Keep doing the good work, Tom.
Course,
cheers,
man.
guys.
Cool. Cheers, guys. Thank you. Cheers, Guy, rather than guys. I'm just going all copycat today. We've got a couple more callers before we wrap things up. We've got George and then we've got Mark. Let's get George on first. How you doing, man? You good, Joel?
Yeah, I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, good, man. I had to wait until you'd found yourself in quieter, more stable surroundings. So I'd noticed you were walking home in the background. How's things? All good?
All good. Just been playing some paddle.
Nice.
I was
early in the morning. Oh no, are you across the pond?
I'm in Australia. So
sorry.
for me,
Yes.
it's,
Well, a bigger pond, but yes. Yeah, of course.
much
Nice.
bigger pond.
Indeed.
Yeah, so it's 6 p.m. is a perfect time to get on. So thanks for having me again. Appreciate it.
Of course, no worries, man. You've heard a little bit, I think, of what some of the other boys have been saying. Tell me where your kind of head's at going into this final pre-season fixture.
The one thing that I would say is I'm slightly disappointed, and it probably does come to Arteta with the fact that we haven't actually seen much of Odegaard, Zubimendi, and Rice play together. And maybe it is because he wants to surprise United, but I just think from a preparation point of view, like, it's really important that they get minutes together, because that's what we all expect to see at Old Trafford next week, right? That is the best three midfielders and combination that we think we'll see. So I've been quite surprised, pleasantly surprised with seeing a lot of Norgard, who I think's done really well, and obviously Ethan play more central. But that would be my first point. I'm quite surprised we haven't seen a lot of that starting midfield three. I think also something that I've sort of come to grips with over the last couple of years is my sentiment for our young players in terms of giving them loads of minutes and getting them involved in the first team. Whilst it's great, we're at a stage now where we're not competing to get into the Champions League. We're not in 8th place. We're trying to win a title. So for someone like Nwaneri, really, really great that he signed a new contract. Don't mind that at all. Good piece of business by the club. But I look at what Chelsea do as a model, and I think to really win, you really need to go and make your squad better, and to the degree that you can be favourites to win the title. I think that last summer the club made a few errors in the market, and they probably admit that as well. I
think Edu practically did make that admission on that, where he did that little VT on deadline day.
100%, and he made it very clear that Sterling also wasn't his first option.
Exactly.
As soon as we signed Sterling, but I look at that period of time, those 3 years, and it was clear that the number one striker they wanted was Isak. Very, very clear. We wanted Isak, and David Ornstein came out and said it. Fabrizio came out and said it, but they also said Isak is not for sale. They are not selling him. My problem with Arsenal, and I feel like it goes over a long period of time, is to make these players available, you have to make them available. You have to go and do something like what Liverpool are about to do, and it hasn't happened yet, so I can't really speak too early. But they will go and do it after spending however much they've spent on Ekatike and whoever else, Florian Wirtz they bought in, as well as Frimpong and Kirkes. They make these big players available, and I feel like if I could list you Rafinha, who very well reported we wanted in the past. Obviously, Benjamin Sesko, we did 2 years of scouting. Nico Williams, Dusan Vlahovic many years ago, right? And for me, it's like, can we really bring in our first choice? Now, Declan Rice, I'll grant them that one time we went out and we really made a statement signing of signing their first choice in that position. But I love Gyökeres, but I don't think Gyökeres was their first choice in that position. Whether it's the correct choice from a coaching point of view is a whole different conversation we can have another time. But for me, now looking at the midfield, there are definite profiles that we do miss. And I love Declan Rice playing in that high number 8 role in certain games when there's a lot of space.
You're going to say the Xhaka word.
in the Xhaka role, 100%. When we're playing against really good teams who want to come press us and leave big spaces, Declan Rice is perfect for that that left number 8 role. He's a great presser, etc. But in those games, which is most of the Premier League games, we play against teams who are not as good as us. And they'll sit in a nice either an aggressive mid block like your Newcastles, your Aston Villas, or your low blocks like all the teams who are probably in the lower half of the table. We do struggle to break those teams down. And if I look at the window that we've had, I think that Noni, in terms of skills gap, in terms of his 1v1 ability, probably does help us in those games. But in that central area, we are really, really crying out for someone who is able to take the ball on the half turn and just make something happen with a ball carry, but in a tight area. A ball carry in a big area, Declan Rice is your man. But a ball carry in a tight area, we are really, really struggling. And so they really need to go and get this Eze deal done. They just have to go do it.
I don't think they will. At the moment, I don't think they will.
And from what I'm hearing from you, from Harry Simu, and from others who seem to be quite well connected, it doesn't seem that that's going to happen. And the reason I think it won't happen is because of how poor we are at selling at selling our own players. And to me, I want to know who is negotiating the contracts, because I think one of the big reasons why we can't offload these players is because we give them contracts which are far too big. You're looking at your Jesus on 270 odd, your Zinchenko's on a really, really high wage. And whilst those two probably uniquely were ceiling raisers at the time that we got them, now it's looking like it was quite a poor in terms of their contract, quite poor business.
Is that situational though? Do you think? Like, do you think that's situational? Because I talk about the Zinchenko point. He's on 150. I think Jesus is closer to 200 in terms of his wage. I will double check that while I'm talking though. And when we signed like Zinchenko from City at 24 years of age, he was coming in to be a starter. He was coming in from a Premier League champion. Like, that is what you are going to pay. You are going to pay, £150,000 per week for the player. And the idea, I think, was that at 28, he'd still be starting for us now. But the reality is that injuries have significantly affected kind of his progression. The emergence of Lewis Skelly as well, obviously, has changed that in the last couple of seasons, or the last season in particular, and into this season, of course, when Zinchenko now is 28. But wow, yeah, you are right. Actually, £265,000 according to Capology. Jesus, that's more than I thought. It's not so fair play. That is a lot, isn't it? It would have made him, I think, the highest paid player at the club when he signed. I think
at the time, until Havertz, obviously,
he was coming in as kind of like mid-20s, the number 9 for Arsenal. I think you have a point with Jesus. I'll be fair to you there. I think that's fair enough. I think that slightly maybe too high. He was the marquee signing, 45 million quid, being Arsenal's number 9, designed to be the player to take them forward. Again, injuries have absolutely. I mean, if we were looking at when we signed him, what was it, 2022? That he came in.
Bargain.
If he was great, right? He was
unbelievable. I was watching our 2022-23 first half of the season. Honestly, today I was just like in awe of how good he
that Bournemouth game and the Leicester game, like it was so good. And he obviously got injured in the World Cup, and he was never the same again. And if we were talking 100%. About Jesus as in Arsenal's number 9 now, as if he was from the time he signed, he was still our number 9 and had locked in that position because he'd able to get like 20 goals per season, whatever, and had like nearly double-digit assists or whatever, because that's the type of player he is. We probably would be saying, well, he's probably earned that contract by this point.
100%.
But because of the injuries that he suffered, we've outgrown it. And yeah, it's tough. Like the wages with both of those two players, like they're examples of like where we're struggling definitely to kind of offload players because of the wages they're on. But I think there are
others.
Perhaps
there are others
other
in the
examples.
Squad. You're right. There were probably the 2 quite poor examples. I'm thinking about the Lecong.
Yeah, I'm just
like for me, when I was talking about us going to and going out there and making players available, the only times we seem really to do it is when other clubs are not interested in those players. So you give
Reece
the
Nelson
Vieiras
on $100,000 a week. Like
it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Reece Nelson's a lot of money.
And you look at your Vieiras, who we signed. Honestly, it was like one day
45.
we hadn't agreed, and the next day it was 35 million agreed. Lokonga the same. Obviously, Kai Havertz is a different story. I quite like Kai Havertz, but
£50,000 per week. That's quite a lot. Yeah,
it's quite a lot for someone who clearly just isn't good enough. And it comes down to the point where you've got to be ruthless. Either you take a big cut in their transfer fee and you just get the wages off the bill, but then maybe that hinders you going into the market trying to sign someone else. But it just seems like maybe Berta has come in now and we're becoming more ruthless. But it seems like after 3 years, it could be too late, because this was the summer. If last year wasn't the summer, this certainly really was the summer to do it. And we might still do it, But to me, I look at that preseason, and I think we spoke about it last time. There's Zinchenko, Jesus preseason, and we were unbelievable in that preseason, and we took that form straight into the league. It seems like if you don't get your signings in before preseason or the tour or Emirates Cup situation, then you're going to be struggling, because players need time to embed themselves, learn the system. I remember Rice talking about how complicated Arteta's system and how intricate everything is. So if someone like Eze or maybe a Rafael Leao or Rodrigo come in near the end of the window, then we could be losing 3, 6, 9 points by then, and that's title over. Yeah. So yeah, I guess my overarching thought, and I'll conclude because I know there's others who want to speak, is that when they sit down and they discuss what they're going to do in the market, and they tell us how prepared they are, and they tell us, well, Arteta especially tells us how we're missing that sort of final cutting edge in the final third, and that X factor profile. Maybe they do discuss names, and I'm sure they do 2, 3, 4 names per position. But how effective are they at really going to get them? Because I see the other clubs around us, and they seem far more effective at getting those number 1 or number 2 targets at a faster pace than we do.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. I think that the structure of the way the squad's been built, and again, this is kind of where I come back to Arteta. I think there's definitely something to point to about the way in which the squad has been built in some aspects that sees us struggle in areas, especially depth-wise. But that, again, when people kind of criticise Mikel then in terms of his coaching, that's where I tend to struggle, because I don't think you can have both. I think you can complain about one or the other, but if you're complaining about the squad and how the squad's been built over the last 5 years, I think there's some really good things that we've done, but I think admittedly there are some things that we haven't done as well. Then the job that Arteta has done with the squad that's available to him is stunning. Like last season, to get 2 cup semi-finals, one being a Champions League, to still finish second despite having the highest number of injuries, 27 across the whole league, was insane. Frankly, I don't care what anyone says. Like, that was an unbelievable position to still be in come the end of the season after everything that we'd lost, especially because City really had only lost Rodri and Diaz. They were the 2 that they lost. Everyone else was still pretty much there. I think Stones maybe as well, but they've got a lot of depth in defence. Can't really mind about their squad building. But you look at like what happened to United and Spurs after they lost players, and they've dropped down to 16th and 17th in the table. Like
100%.
It's people kind of go, and you always get these people that relieve these responses and won how much? We didn't win anything. And it's just this kind of binary nature of football that a trophy is the only thing. Everything else is failure. But it's just not how football or sport in general works. Like, if you want to look at football, that's fine. That's your prerogative. That's your choice. That's your I don't like the word agenda, but it is the agenda that you choose to view football through that lens. Others don't have to view football through that lens. And you can recognize that while we absolutely all want trophies and we're aiming to win things and we want to win things, as long as you, as I said this on another show, George, and I'll finish on this point, I'll let you come back on me to this. But I feel as though that if you are a club that is in a position at the start of the season where you are considered to be one of the potential favourites for any competition you enter, you're in an incredibly privileged position as a fan. That's where 100%. My point would be.
100%. I couldn't agree more. I also think that there are not many other coaches, probably in world football, who would sustain the amount of injuries that we had last season. And you can even talk about some refereeing decisions. I try not to talk about it because I know that happens across the league. But would finish where we did in a Champions League semi-final and finishing second behind Liverpool, who had an absolute crazy season with Salah. So I think that a lot of props have to go to Arteta and the team for figuring that out and navigating that space, because it's not an easy one too. But then what I would say is, now that he's done that, he needed the summer to go so swimmingly that he could actually look at us for next season and think we're actually favourites to go win the title now. And I just don't think we can do that right now.
Yeah, I think it's spot on, mate. And I think that this season's going to be really interesting to see because if Arsenal were to win the league this season, for instance, hypothetically, they would have exceeded my expectations. They would have done more than I'm expecting of them this season. If they were to win a trophy, I think they would have, met my expectations. I think a trophy is the expectation this season. Without that, they can't go a 6th season without lifting something. Not in the sense of they can't because they're entitled to it, but just they can't go a 6th season. With everything that we've done and how far we are. That's kind of where my head's at, like on that front. But George, always a pleasure, mate. Thank you for your patience and for calling in as well.
No worries. Take care. Have a good day. Up the Gunners.
Thanks, man. Speed you said, I'm sure. Lovely stuff. We've got one more caller, which is Mark. I'm going to join the show in just a second. Just going to tackle some of these comments quickly. Lolu says, I don't query the club's overall success, but I query the way that we play as a team. I don't think that's unfair. I think that the style of play, the strategy, the philosophy is something that we are questioning at the moment. We are looking at it and thinking, are we getting the maximum from what we've got? I think that last season we did maximize pretty much what we could get from what we had that was available to us. Still can't believe we did get to where we got to. We nearly managed to pick up, came so very close to picking up a couple of trophies. But again, I lean on this point. I know that people are exhausted with kind of the way in which we haven't won something tangible to point to since 2020. But I lean on this point, which is, if you are a supporter of a club that is in a position where realistically you have a great chance of winning something at the beginning of a season, as Arsenal have been put into by this manager, it's an incredibly privileged position to be in as a fan, because 99% of fans don't have that for their respective clubs. So that's the position I always fall back to. Let's bring on our final caller, which is Mark. How you doing, mate? You good, Joel?
I'm good, Tom. How are you?
Yeah, very good, thank you, mate. Where are you calling in from, out of interest?
New Zealand, so just next door.
Brilliant, fantastic. Yeah, you're right near George. Lovely stuff.
2 hours behind.
Oh, 2 hours behind. It's you look on a map and you see New Zealand pretty close to Australia. You think, they'll be at the same time zone. No, it's not how the world works. So what is 8 o'clock your time? Must be about that. Just or is it 8? You said it was 6 this time, so 8, just around 8. Yeah. Tell me, mate, where are you at? Where's your head at regarding Arsenal right now?
I think when it comes to preseason, I'll be honest. When it comes to the Asia tour, obviously it's important for the club because we've got a global fan base, but I don't take too much stock in the results because for me, preseason is about fitness and patterns of play. And we've already seen clubs like Tottenham and Chelsea. They've Maddison got an ACL.
Yeah.
Levi Cole got an ACL.
Yeah.
And Rodri, he's injured again.
Yeah, he'll be back just before the Arsenal game.
Things, lucky. So I would be more concerned if we were getting comprehensively beaten like 3 or 4-1. I don't think we've been outplayed. I think sometimes you just have to give credit to other teams and say that was a good goal. And sometimes they have better luck. Like I'll go when Tottenham scored. So I don't take too much. I'm super reasonably confident.
Yeah. I mean, I'm confident Arsenal are going to have a good season. I think people have, as you said, put too much stock in these pre-season performances. There are concerns, and that's why pre-season exists, to work out what those concerns are, so you're better prepared to be able to fix them, and also to get your players up to match fitness. And when the season starts, as I pointed out to people before, our best season, in the last few years, 23-24, we didn't have the best pre-season. I think we lost a game. I think we drew a game. The Invincibles I point to lost a game in preseason, I think, to Peterborough famously. Like, preseason is it's an indication. It can give you hints. It can give you points to work on, but it's not something to lose your minds over. Where are you kind of at there with kind of the fan base's reaction to it? Because 6 signings through the door, which is the last time Arsenal signed 6 players was it 2021, I think, was it Ramsdale, Odegaard, Tavares, Lokonga, Ben White, Tomiyasu. I think they were the 6 signings. And I mean, you compare the kind of high-profile nature of those signings to Gyökeres and the money we spent on Madueke, which is more than any of those players cost. Zubimendi, of course, and the depth players we've added as well. It's a very different window from then to now, but the feeling still seems to be pretty pessimistic at the moment.
Yeah, I think a lot of it's got to do with how we ended last season. One thing that was really concerning wasn't that we just finished second, but we also finished 15 points below. Yeah, like that's a lot of points. And look, sometimes, and if you put it into perspective, Liverpool won the league with 84 points, and we came second with that points tally. Like I would say, was it 2022 to 2023? So with all of these factors, it just pisses off a lot of people.
Yeah.
But for me, there are some times where I find, like, for example, the abuse that Madueke got when he first signed.
Joke.
And yeah. And for me, like, I guess it's different from like local fans to international fans, but the idea, like the factor that he plays with Chelsea and therefore we should sign him is a completely like just foreign idea, because in New Zealand, like, we've got our own Super Rugby teams. We wouldn't start a fight if, like, for example, the Blues, which is my local team, signed a player from Crusaders. Yeah. And then that would be like, it's just not as tribal. So
yeah, I think there's definitely a tribal element to it. I think people might argue on the Chelsea front, it's kind of the regularity in which they've signed Chelsea players, and obviously the success rate that we have had from that run of Chelsea players, which is probably, I think Havertz personally has been a successful signing for me. I know people don't agree with that, but I think he has been. I think he would have been on for a 20-goal season last year if he hadn't have got injured. Obviously, he was responsible for a campaign where he played pretty much the majority of it, where we won more games and scored more goals than we ever have before in the Premier League, and he was a big part of that. And I think that, David Luiz wasn't a particularly bad signing. I think David Luiz was all right. He helped us to an FA Cup victory, of course, played across that semi-final and final. Willian, failure, no doubt about that. Not a great signing. Kepa and Madueke, we will find out. And who's the other one? There's someone else I'm forgetting.
Jorginho. He was a good signing.
Who was a good signing? I get it. I think that's the key thing. Yeah.
Yep. And you mentioned Havertz about how you think he's been a good signing, and I tend to agree. I do think I wish he would be a bit more imposing.
Yeah.
I'm expecting that more because
he's been in the gym now, mate. So maybe
looks like Captain America.
yeah.
And I've, how to say this? I've kind of made peace that we may not sign anyone else, or we may sign someone that the fans don't necessarily want. Like, I've got the strange feeling that we could potentially sign, someone like Anthony Gordon if Isaac doesn't leave for Liverpool. Yeah. And I just know that that's going to piss off a lot of people.
Yeah, of course. Which is ironic to me, Mark, but I'd love to get your thoughts on this, is that it's ironic to me that from the outside in, Arsenal fans are looking at their window right now, seeing Arsenal sign the right wing depth we needed, the striker we needed, the goalkeeper depth we needed, the six we needed, the backup six we needed, the Saliba depth we needed. We filled those holes. The only really area, which isn't a hole, it's an area of improvement, which is the left-hand side. But we've got two players there. We need to improve it, but it's not a hole. Liverpool have holes in their squad, despite the fact that they have spent, close to more than 300 million and could end up spending more than 400 million. They still don't have the six they needed to sign. They still don't have the centre half they needed to sign. And they look like, instead of spending the money on those positions, they're going to go and spend 100+ million potentially on Isak, or if not Isak, they're going to go and potentially get Barcola, who's also been linked recently, who's a player in a position they've already got depth, of course, for. So it's interesting to me how Arsenal fans lose their mind over a club that are spending on exciting players, definitely, but leaving glaring holes that Arsenal aren't leaving. We haven't left holes. We've left an area of the squad on the left-hand side that needs to be improved, but we still have players there currently, whereas Liverpool don't in those two positions.
Yep. Yeah, no, I totally agree. And for me, when it comes to signings, I look at the player profile and what we perhaps need or what we're lacking, and whether that player can provide, fill that gap. Like, if you look at Liverpool's success, the most successful signings, they weren't necessarily big names. Like, for example, Salah, Chelsea, thought obviously he was talented, but they weren't patient with him. He played for AS Roma, and he did play well there. Mane was playing for Southampton. Yeah. Okay, like, he was a good Premier League player, but he wasn't world class back then. Van Dijk was playing for Southampton. So I just find that we need signings that are actually going to be actually address our needs, rather than how their surname sounds like, or whether or not
yeah,
you know,
it was
it's just like,
Madueke, you know, maybe
yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Or if we sign him for PSV,
right?
You know, maybe the perception would have been different, but yeah. And I know that it's a bit late, so I'll just
you're fine, man.
I'll just have one last question.
Go for it, mate.
Yeah, I also think, and I think I'm not so sure if this would be the right decision, but I could see it happening. I could see us trying to shoot in Havertz and Gyökeres, but also keeping the expected midfield three that we think are going to play, which is Zubimendi, Odegaard, and Rice. And I was doing a bit of research when it came to Kai Havertz at Leverkusen, and how he was playing as a bit of a second striker,
attacking eight. It's advanced. He's kind of playing with Brandt, both of them together in attacking midfield roles. Yeah,
and Arteta loves Havertz. Like, he always talks about him.
He does,
You know, some people will say, like, people were making jokes saying that Havertz is like getting Arteta's door. You know, just silly stuff. But but you know, no. But but I can't see him dropping Havertz unless he throws in a stinker. So there's a part of me thinking that he's going to shoot both of them in, and I'm just kind of wondering, in your mind, or in your opinion, how would that look like?
I think that Havertz's role this season with Gyökeres in the team is really, really interesting. And I think that it was a point brought up by a previous caller. Was it? I think it was George might have actually said it, that we were talking about where Rice and Zubimendi are going to kind of play. Against the teams like Liverpool, City, you know, when we go to United, having Zubimendi and Rice in the same team is fine because it gives you that platform and it gives you that security. And I think it gives us a lot of like sturdiness really in the midfield. But when we come up against teams that last season we were dropping points against that we shouldn't have been dropping points against, like West Ham, for example, or Everton, for example, like these teams that we're dropping points against that we dominate possession, they're games I want to see Odegaard and Havertz playing behind Gyökeres. I want to see both of them playing with either Rice or Zubimendi then sitting as the six. And we need to utilize the squad in more of a riskier, offensive-minded way and use more attacking options. And I think that Havertz playing as kind of with Odegaard behind Gyökeres will give us a lot more threat and just penetration, really, I think, into the opposition box and into the more threatening areas. So it will make us more vulnerable, but we should have the defensive security to be able to cope with that. So that's kind of what I want to see from Havertz next season, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, and the amount of times last season when we played Partey and Rice, especially at home against our teams in the lower end of the table, that really kind of annoyed me, especially when there were times where we weren't breaking them down. And I really wish, I mean, right when we bought Rice, I thought he was a number 6. So I'm a bit confused that we haven't seen him play that position in certain games. Not in every single game, but in some situations, there's no harm in putting him there.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think that we got a player that can play multiple roles and that's got an interesting, narrative this season around him with having us signed as centre forward. And yeah, I agree with you, Mark. What an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for your call, mate. I really do.
Thank you, Tom. Thanks for having me.
Of course, no problem at all. Thank you to all of our callers, of course, that have tuned in today. And for the listeners, of course, in the chat box, thank you so much always for listening and tuning in for the conversations that we've been having. Some really interesting conversations have been going on the side while we've actually been listening to the callers. Some of those points just to pick up on, it kind of picked up on what we said previously to I think it was George, around the idea of, the banter side of things between supporters. I really think there's too much stock put in this whole kind of rivalry between clubs and their fans these days. I think a lot of Arsenal fans their heads have gone. I think a lot of Arsenal fans' heads have gone. They're fed up of the banter. They're fed up of being, chanted second again. Like, the reality is that a lot of these clubs would kill to be in our position. One of the biggest reasons why you hear so much complaining about our manager from rival fans, where we didn't have that during the Emery period, and we didn't have that at the end of Arsene Wenger's period, because they want Arteta gone. It's because those rival fans recognise that Mikel Arteta is the biggest hope Arsenal have got to delivering us back to the title. They want him gone. So they want you to think that he isn't the right man for the job. They want to keep bantering you. They want to get in your head. They want you to be on the side of those that think now he isn't the right guy to take us forward, despite the fact that he's the guy in the last 5 years to put Arsenal back into title relevancy, put Arsenal back into Champions League semi-finals. We haven't yet won that period. And there's people like Kaz in the chat who put in like lol deluded. I've absolutely no issue. And Kaz, let me know if you want to come on the show. I'm happy to extend the phone in a little bit longer. And you can jump on and tell me why you think I'm deluded. That's absolutely fine. But so far, everybody that has called in has shown, obviously, where their heads are at of those that are willing to kind of put their views on camera or on view. So just let me know, Kaz, where I can send you the link and you can hop on, you can tell me, and we can have a discussion about why you think I'm deluded. That's absolutely no problem at all. I'm more than welcome. People are allowed to disagree with my point of view. I have no issue with that. The issues I have is when you get kind of trolly comments like this. But we always open up the floor to different opinions. We always open up the floor to challenge. Every single person that's called in today has got on the show. You know, I appreciate it's early on a Saturday morning for a lot of people in the UK, but obviously elsewhere in the world, it's easier perhaps to call in. But that's where we're at. And I genuinely believe that the key point about the rival banter side of things comes from this idea that they are desperate for Arteta to be gone. They're desperate for Arsenal to get in a manager and replacing him that potentially could derail the progression, the establishment of where we are at as a club, going into every season now as one of the potential contenders to win those trophies. That's where we're at. We are every season at the moment going into the season. You look at the 6 signings we've made. Gyökeres adds quality to the centre-forward position. Zubimendi, for me, is an upgrade on Partey. Norgard is going to give us more than Jorginho would this season. We've finally got depth that's fit and available to Saliba in Mosquera, an upgrade on Tomiyasu. We've finally got a backup goalkeeper of Premier League and Champions League experience to Raya, upgrade on Neto. We finally brought in depth to Bukayo Saka's position from a senior point of view in Madueke. And there is one more signing I believe that we need to do. We need to bring in that left-sided upgrade. I agree with you. I'm not confident right now that we will, but we need to. And come the end of the window, if we haven't done that, we can have a conversation about our disappointment and frustration and rightful criticism of not doing that deal. But at this point in time, every signing we've made has made us stronger. This squad are in a stronger position than they were at the same time at this point than they were at the same time last season. And I believe that puts us in a good place. Pre-season, I'm sorry, but I disagree with those people that think that it's fair to lose their minds over what's gone on. Fair to criticize, fair to point out the drawbacks and the things that aren't quite clicking for us at the moment. But I'm struggling with it. Also, by the way, if you want to know, Kaz has suddenly disappeared from the chat as soon as he was offered the chance to come on the show. Shock horror. Justin, thank you so much for becoming a brand new member of the channel. Really appreciate your time, as always. Trey, I mean, if you want to drop the deluded message, would you like to come on, Trey, as well? I'm more than happy to host you. You can come on, you can show, you can tell me exactly what you think, tell me what you mean. I have absolutely no problem with that at all. People, for some reason, think that I'm not open to listening to opposite points of view. I am more than happy to have debates, conversations with anyone that wants to, as long as you're respectful. And, you know, calling people deluded isn't very respectful at all, to be fair. And at no point have I disagreed with the point you've put in and called you deluded. You know, I think it takes a level of maturity to have a conversation about a topic and not lose your head like I think some people do when they start calling people deluded. It's, if anything, it kind of makes you look a little silly. But yeah, I really do genuinely think that it's an opportunity to have conversations about it. That's why I offer these phone-ins. That's why I give people the opportunity to jump on, give their opinion. Every single person that has clicked that link today, that's been in that chat box waiting to come on, has got on this show today. Not a single person has not got on that called in. So it's always, I think, very telling. And I'm grateful for comments like Kaz's, actually, because I think it shows you, the listeners, the reality of those points of view. It shows you the reality of the people that drop in comments like, you're deluded, you're this, you're that. But then when they're given the opportunity to front up, given the opportunity to jump on a show, given the opportunity to have their views heard, as I've offered, they've gone, disappeared, like Spider-Man in Avengers or something like that. They've gone to dust, as you might say. So it's always the way it goes. Elodie is right. They won't call. They never will. They don't. It's the way it goes. But thank you so much, as always, for tuning in. Really appreciate your time. I hope you have an absolutely fast spoilers. Sorry, Spearmint. Yeah, if you're running through the Avengers films right now, I'm sorry. Thank you so much, all of you, for tuning in. Really appreciate your time. I hope you have an absolutely fantastic Saturday. I may or may not be on tomorrow. I'm hoping to be on. It very much depends on how much wine gets drunk at this vineyard later on this afternoon for the Mrs. 30th. But thank you, as always, for tuning in and listening. Really appreciate your time. And I look forward to hearing from you. Kaz is back, but unfortunately he's a bit of a coward. Right, see you soon, guys. And as always, up the Arsenal.